Almost all of the big pots in Holdem come from the late positions and the big blinds and the small blinds. That's because if people open from the first few positions, the players are scared. They think they've got strong hands, but they're very suspect when they come in the late positions.
That's so true. And remember, you're going to play many more hands when you're either in the blinds or the late positions, and that's where your action comes from. So knowing how to play in the blinds and in the late positions is critical. Most of your profit is going to come from that.
Here's a concept that some players find hard to grasp, so let's make it clear. Playing the blinds at a table with many players dealt in is unprofitable, period. There's nothing you can do about that. In the blinds, you're forced to put money in the pot before seeing your cards, and that's a severe disadvantage. Also, you'll have to act first throughout future betting rounds. Another big disadvantage. The only exception to this positional disadvantage is if you're the big blind against the small blind. So couple paying money to the pot without seeing cards and bad position, and it's easy to see why you should expect to lose money in the blinds. But here's the harder part for many players to understand. Much of your profit will come from the blinds. That sounds like a paradox, doesn't it? You'll lose money in the blinds, yet you'll earn a lot of your profit from playing the blinds. How can that be? It's because so many of the times you play hands, you're in the blinds. You'll call often because it's a bargain. You get a discount, since you don't have to call the full wager. And when all the earlier players fold, you'll regularly find yourself in late position combat against only one or two opponents, and you'll play many of those hands. Here's what's happening. A large portion of the times you're involved in pots, you're in the blinds, and your decisions at those times account for a giant share of the money you'll win or lose. If you're a skillful Hold'em player and play the blinds excellently, your decisions will be the best possible. That still doesn't mean you'll turn a profit in the blinds, but it does mean you'll be able to minimize your losses. And minimizing your losses when you're so frequently involved in those pots means a huge difference in your bankroll. That's why so much of your overall profit comes from your play in the blinds.
You've already discovered that players staring away as the action approaches are usually more dangerous and more likely to bet or raise than players looking at you or watching the action approach. We can take that one step further. Watch for players who seem to be facing away, but they're looking at you out of the corner of their eyes. When an opponent is facing away, but his eyes are sneaking back toward you, that's doubly dangerous. What if I told you that the best players in the world may not be the biggest winners? If you know everything, if you know all the truths about poker, that doesn't mean that you're going to apply it. You need such things as patience and discipline. And a lot of players have the practical knowledge to beat any game in the world. They might be the best in the world, but without the will to practice that, much lesser players may do much better than they do. Don't you think you see this all the time?
I think you see it. It's amazing how many of the poker players are former athletes. I think it's because the discipline comes into play a lot in playing poker. You have to be able to discipline yourself.
It's a lot of training.
I always felt that one of my strengths was that I could hold my discipline longer than other people on these long sessions we've talked about. or you play 2 days. A lot of people crack after a certain amount of time, and they lose their discipline. They lose focus on the game. And I think that the competition is what keeps you going, and I think that that's the reason that you find that a lot of the players are former athletes.
I think that's an amazing revelation, because in being an athlete, you have to go through this regimen. You have to actually do the training. In poker, you're tempted just not to do the discipline, go through the learning process, just get out there and gamble, and you can do that, but you can fail.
That reminds me of the cartoon where the buzzard's sitting on the fence. He says, "Patience my ass, I'm going to go kill something." Congratulations. You're moving on up now. You're ready for the junior course at Poker University.